All right, friends, Brian here from Guitars and Cigars. So this is my new Katana 212. As you can see, it's got 212-inch speakers in it. It's a 100-watt stereo. I was an idiot, did not realize that this amp does not have an external jack in order for me to run my external 412 cab. So, fortunately, I still have one of these, which is the adapter in order for you to run an external cabinet off of one of these Gen 3 Katana amps. Now, if I'd have bumped up to the professional, where I had gotten the head alone, or the one I was looking at has one 12-inch speaker in it, but your controls are in the front, I would have had an external jack. But I wanted a 212. This is one of the things that I like. And as such, I also like to run my 412 cab. So I had to install this. So there's two wires that come off of the top of the head unit here. If you feel in here, you can feel it. It's where your power head is. So you disconnect the positive and the negative from the second pole on your speaker, connect it into the box, and then connect the two that come out that are supposed to go to the cabinet inside the amp to the opposite sides of what you had taken off. So basically what it does is it bypasses the power coming out of the amp, so you just get a flat signal, which will then transfer into your cabinet. So that's a little bit beyond what we're talking about for a basic setup, but some of you are going to look and see this and go, what is that? So that's what that is. So this is the back of the amp itself. So it comes out of the box, out of the bag. This is what you see. You got your power, you got your foot switch pedals, you got headphones, you got an effects loop. You can set up where you can run a Waza powered speaker, which is also made by Boss for the Katana. So there's a switch to signify that, as well as, like I said, you've got headphones, and you've got a line out, and you got a power amp in as well. The old Katana style amp for your USB, which is what we're going to connect up and download the software for, is right here. This is now a USB-C. It used to be the square style, like you'd see in an old printer, that would go into a regular USB plug that would go into your computer. Now you can use USB-C, or you can have a C to a regular USB and use that as well. So that's what the back of this amp looks like. And then I'll do a quick on my phone about the top. And then what we're going to do is we're going to plug this in here. I'll plug in my USB, and then I will get onto my computer and we will download the software together and get that installed. Stand by. All right, so here is what the top panel looks like on this amp. You've got your amp style, you get your brown, your lead, your crunch, your pushed, clean, and acoustic. You've got your gain, your volume, bass, mid, treb. You've got your boost, which is here, and you've also got your mod knob. So there's the double knob on all of these. So you've got your FX and your delay, and you've got your reverb, and that one does not have a second, I apologize. You've got your presence, you've got your master, you've got your 4 channels, which you then can turn into 8 channels, and you also have a panel, which you can have in a 9th preset. You've got your power rating, you've got your solo, which would be a boost, and you've got your cab resonance, which is your cab simulator. Now, when you're in the software, which we'll go over in a few minutes, none of this makes any difference. Everything's controlled by the GUI and the software. But if you wanted to run this amp by itself, you have all these parameters that you can set yourself, as well as have 9 presets for you to save. One of the things I like is you've got half, you've got 0.5, and you've got max wattage. And no matter what you're playing on, it sounds great. So if you're only running half a watt because you don't want to piss off the neighbors and have the police at the house, still sounds awesome. So in the back, we hooked in our USB-C, we hooked in our juice, and then we also hooked in our cabinet off of the adapter I was talking about. So that's what the top of the amp looks like. All right, let's jump over to the computer and we'll get the software installed and we will go from there. All righty, so you've seen what the back looks like. You've seen the adapter that I needed to put in order to run my 412 cabinet off of this amp, because yes, I'm an idiot. I didn't do all of my research. This is why you should read 5 times, purchase once. We've got the amp plugged in. We have the USB plugged in. So now we're on our PC and we're on the Boss channel. So what you need to do is, you need to register with Boss. Give them your all your information, name, rank, and serial number. Get yourself registered, because once we get into this, you're going to see why. You're going to be able to keep the patches that you find through the Katana site for future use, as well as it sets you up where whenever they put a firmware update out or what have you, you're going to be kept in the loop, so to speak. So we're going to go down. We're going to find our amp. That's us here. Got the Gen 3 212. Goes over everything here that you could ever want to know. Then we're going to go up into the downloads section. We're going to download the system program, which this allows you to do your firmware updates and that type of thing. So we've got that. Go into here, and we're all set. So we've got that in our downloads right now. So we're going to go back one. Now we're going to, whether you have a Mac or you're running a Windows PC, you get to pick which one you want. We're going to do the Katana Gen 3 for Windows, as this is a Windows computer. I don't have a Mac, but I do have a couple that run Unix. I'm running Kali on one, and I'm running an old version of Unix that I do script writing on, and a couple of other things. So we're going to open that up, double click, let it do its thing. Bang. Going to click next. Basically, it's going to do a system file within your programs. The folder, blah, 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 already exists. We're going to overwrite it. That's from when I had my Gen 2 50 watt that decided to shit the bed on me. And that's what kind of prompted this new amp purchase. So we'll go out of that. And then maybe, yeah, there we go. We're going to go into here. We're going to download the driver for this amp as well. So again, we're doing Windows. Click that. Maybe it'll start working. Let's see. There we are. There we are. I suffer from the same disease everybody does. Zero patience. I want it yesterday. At least for technology. Most other things I'm like, who's grabber? I was a first responder for 30 years, so I understand that time is guaranteed to nobody. Just enjoy the ride. So we're going to open that up. Going to open that up. We're going to do the setup, maybe. There we are. And do the driver setup. Let that go through. Yes. Next. Installation's complete. Boom, you're done. So we're going to go out of that. Go out of this. Then we'll hit refresh. I don't have the amp on. We can go to offline mode, but offline mode doesn't allow you really to do much, realistically. You can go in and change a few things on the amp on the offline, but if you want to be able to do everything else, all the really cool doodads and doohickeys and gizmos, you've got to be online and you have to have your amp on. So we're going to turn this on. Contact. Dolby Access, Atmos. No, I'm not doing that. We'll hit refresh. It'll find your amp, and you're good to go. So I had to plug this in earlier and run a couple things to make sure that the adapter I had was the right one for the 212 to be able to run my cab. And as such, a couple things downloaded onto the amp as part of the whole thing. So over here is the patches that come stock with your amp. It's going to come with 8 different patches. The dark 80s is mine. And I got to see if any of these other ones. This Randy Rhodes panel one, that also came over from my old settings on my Gen 2. Patches. Some patches will work with everything. Others will work specifically with only Generation 3. But anything I believe that is Generation 2 will also work on a 3, but it is not backwards compatible, I believe. I'll have to do a little more research on that. So basically what you get is a variation of your panel. So you've got your amp type, your gain, your volume, your bass, your mid, your treble, your boost, your mod, FX, delay, reverb, resonance, presence, your solo, which is your kick boost, cab simulation, and your global EQ. And I've talked about this before. This is where you get to mess around with your signal chain if you want to. Then you can get into the parameters on every single pedal, mode, doohickey, doodad that is involved in this. This is a serious rabbit hole for the guitar nerd. I've just delved into a little bit of it, and I've had many sleepless nights going to bed at 3 o'clock in the morning going, oh my Christ, what have I done? Off to bed, then back up at 7:30 and starts all over. So, oh yeah, by the way, coffee. Coffee makes life better. So you can go in and really fine tune each one of these boost pedals, for an example. or you can go in and change on your phase. I mean, you can really, really dial in and get the exact sound you want. Modeling amps and modeling in general has just come so far. My first modeling amp back in would have been like 2005-ish, I think, was the Line 6 AX2. That was the first kind of real available to the home player modeling amp. Now, it didn't have all of this. You couldn't go in and change parameters on any of it. It was just basically you get a bunch of preset stuff and then you can change, your tone, you could change your regular settings, but you could not change how the pedal worked. If you get yourself, we'll say, a tube screamer, you've got your knobs that you could really contour. You didn't have that option with the AX2. With this amp and a lot of new modeling stuff, unlimited. I mean, you can look up what Randy Rhoads used for a signal chain for Crazy Train. Then you can go in and fine tune all of these parameters to get basically what he saw on his pedals is what you will see here. So this whole thing is pretty amazing as far as I'm concerned. So as you make your changes here, obviously none of your knobs on your amp change because those are manual regular knobs, but all your parameters is here. Now, when you go to save it or write it, which we'll go into in another video, all of these parameters stay the same, are locked in, and then it doesn't make a difference what's going on top of your amp. If you're in playing, you're on your panel and you make a bunch of mods and you're playing something, and then you're getting to the rhythm section of Crazy Train, say, bow, now, now. You need a specific preset. Tap it, it brings you right to this. Everything that you've saved and done, you're in business. Now, Boss also makes a pedal. It's about the size of a foot-long hoagie. And there's two versions. There's one version that will just bounce you between your presets. And there's another one where you can actually change some of the parameters. And they also have an expression pedal, which on the back, there is a jack 4 where you could have a volume. Or if you wanted to set it up as a wah-wah. Or say you had a MIDI setup. You're halfway through a solo and you want to be able to hit the MIDI so you can sound like the organ in the middle of Hold Your Head Up by Argent. You can do that. You can swell it. I mean, like I said, this amp and a lot of the modeling amps out there is absolutely amazing. What you can do with this is, I truly think this is the future of certainly the working musician who plays the local bars, who gets, occasionally gets to go up in front of 2,000 people at a fair or something like that. This is the type of equipment they're going to bring with them. They're not going to lug 56,000 pedals with them with, two Marshall full stacks. You don't need it. I mean, you don't even need this amp, really. Katana makes a pedal board. Nina Strauss from Alice Cooper uses one. It sounds killer. All of this is in just one board. Alex Lifeson, he's not using Boss, but he is using a modeling setup with like 14 different guitars this year, which is amazing. He and Getty, they need a whole tractor trailer just to carry their guitars this year, which I think is awesome. He is using a modeling setup to do everything. So basically, he shows up, plugs into the house PA system, tunes it in a little bit, has a cup of coffee, strums it, boom, it's Alex Lifeson. I think that is the future of a majority of what's going to happen with musicians moving forward. Now, Joe Bonamassa, obviously, there's people like him. Eric Johnson. Some of these guys who want to have bougie vintage gear with them will always have their Fender, V twins and their Marshall half stacks and all of that. But those are people who are doing it professionally. They have a crew. They don't have to deal with a lot of it. Where you and I, if I was to start playing out live again, I am the roadie. So having the ability to have minimal amount of gear to give you the maximum amount of bougie sound is advantageous no matter how you look at it. And we're going to be going through this whole amp from stem to stern. We're going to pick one thing and we're going to talk about it each episode. Every Wednesday, we're going to have a series. Basically, it's going to be Know Your Katana. We're going to learn what the differences are with your cab resonance, which is your cab simulator, what your global EQ does, how to fine tune your parametric EQ. All of those things will be discussed in this. And then on Mondays, we're going to do a patch. It's going to be Katana Mod Monday, where we're going to take an existing patch, make some tweaks, rename it, save it. Now it's yours. It's a parameter and it's set up you like. And then I'm going to share that on our Facebook page the following day on Tuesday. The other thing we're going to do is we're going to start with flat. That I'm going to be doing one on Monday coming up where I basically we were in the brown amp model and everything was flat. Everything. Mid, the whole 9 yards. I worked my way through and came up with a cool 80s deeper sound patch that I really like. And I'm going to fine tune that between now and Monday. And we're going to release that Monday night. And then Tuesday, it'll be on the page. So you'll be able to get free patches. I firmly believe that you should never have to pay for a patch, period. I think it's a crime that people charge for these things. I understand that people put lots of time and money and this is their business and they've got to, I have to make a living. I got to be able to afford, mama needs a new fur coat. You know what? That's fine, but I still think it's bullshit. I think the community itself should help each other and share everything that we learn. Hence why I'm doing what I'm doing here. So, all right, so I've pontificated enough. This was the installation of the Boss Katana software. And I went over real quick what the top looks like, which is where all your controls are, and what the back looks like, and what we needed to do to get it hooked up to talk to your computer. So, all right, if you like what we're doing here, by all means, follow us on all our socials. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on X, and we're on YouTube. If you really like what's going on, please comment, like, and then subscribe to our socials as it does help us grow. We just hit over 1,000 subs on Instagram. We're over 500 on Facebook, and YouTube isn't quite as fast, but that is still growing as we speak. So, all right, my friends, Brian here from the Guitars and Cigars. We appreciate you checking out the channel. Play loud, smoke long, live well.